Is up, everybody? Welcome into episode 1 of the 2025 season of the Green Zone. As always, I'm your host, Sean Redden, and feel free to join in the comments, submit any questions or comments you have, and let's handicap these games together and go through this NFL slate. A little bit of a new structure this season, as I'm no longer running a site where you have to subscribe to get my picks. Everything is going to be right here on the show. I'm getting a little bit of a late start this morning, so I did post 2 college picks earlier. If you follow me on X or have me on Facebook or Instagram at Red Hot Locks. On X, I'm at SRedden Sports. On Instagram, I'm at Red Hot Locks. Any plays that aren't going to be on the show will be posted to all my social platforms, so you can always find it over there. So we did give out Penn State this morning along with Duke as well. And those games obviously kicked off already. I knew I was going to be starting a little late, so I wanted to make sure I got those out. Going forward, though, the show will be going live at 10 a.m. every Saturday morning for all the college football plays for the day, and then also the NFL coming up on Sunday and Monday. And like I just said earlier, feel free to join the convo, submit any questions or comments you can have. I'm going to try to keep tabs on that of any questions or comments people make. That being said, let's jump right into the action for tomorrow's NFL slate. At the end of the show, I will have all my Red Hot Locks posted with unit sizes for the NFL and then also the college slate as well. Obviously, like I said, the 2 college games I gave out that started at noon, I posted this morning on my socials, but I do have a couple other plays going on later today and then also my NFL plays as well. I'm going to cover every game, and then the actual Red Hot Locks will be posted at the end of the show right here on the screen with my analysis as well for NFL and college football. And then, like I said, going forward from now on, we're going to be starting at 10 a.m. Just a little bit of a late start this morning. I got a broadcasting gig doing New Jersey high school football on Friday night, so wasn't able to get all my stuff together going forward last night because that was my first time. That being said, going forward, I'm going to be much more organized, and let's get right into this week's action. Starting off with the Cardinals at the Saints. The Cardinals are a 6.5-point favorite with the over-under at 43.5. Now, all the talk in the preseason has been how Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. have been clicking and they're on the same page. So it remains to be seen what they're going to look like, but I think they could be in line for a big season together if all those reports are accurate. They also come in with 2 solid running backs in Trey Benson and James Conner, who I expect to split work this season, and I think they should be able to go up and down the field on this Saints defense. Now, the Saints roster is going to be one of the worst in football. They should be the worst team, one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in the NFL this year. But when you get teams like that and when you get quarterbacks like Spencer Rattler, that adds so much volatility into the game. And like I said, the Cardinals should put up a bunch of points themselves. But the Saints on the other side, when you get a volatile quarterback with a bad roster, he can lead to more volatile plays with big plays, not only for themselves, but fumbles, pick sixes, interceptions, setting up the opposing team in opportune situations as well, which is why my play on this game is going to be the over 43.5. Cardinals are going to get us close to this number themselves, and I think the Saints are going to be able to hit a couple explosives as well on this Cardinals defense. So I'm going to be taking the Cardinals and Saints over 43.5. Now moving on to the Dolphins at the Colts. The Colts are a 1.5-point favorite with the over-under at 46.5. Now, just right off rip, this is going to be a pass for me. The Dolphins secondary is bad this year. I think they're going to be having explosive plays. But this week, the issue trying to exploit that matchup is Daniel Jones is going to be starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts, and historically he has not shown to be an explosive downfield passer, so I don't think they're going to be able to take advantage of that mismatch that the Dolphins present. Now, for the other side, the Colts defense should be improved from last year, and the Dolphins are dealing with an injury concern to the running back, Devon Achane. He is going to start tomorrow by all reports, but it remains to be seen how much he plays or how effective he is. And the Dolphins also could have a mismatch through the air as well, with longtime Dolphins Xavier Howard, who's now up there in age, going to have to try to cover Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle. But I just don't see enough of an edge here on either side to get to the window and make a bet in this one. I am intrigued, however, to watch how Jones navigates this new Steichen offense for the Colts. But from a betting perspective, this is going to be a pass for me. Next up is the Raiders at the Patriots. The Patriots are a 2.5-point favorite with the over-under at 43.5. Now, there's a lot of new going on for both of these teams, roster and coaching staff included. I'm a big fan of Drake May entering his second season as the Patriots quarterback, and they added Stephon Diggs, which I think will be a big help for him, giving him a legit number one wide receiver. I think they're both going to be in line for a pretty solid season. But overall, I think the Patriots roster is a year or two away from actually making noise. And the Raiders also aren't that talented of a roster overall from top to bottom, but they do have key veterans in some important spots. And Pete Carroll is now the new head coach and one of the best coaches in the NFL. And one of the best corners in the NFL is Christian Gonzalez for the Patriots, but he is expected to be out for the Patriots tomorrow in this game. And I don't think that loss can be understated, as there's not a lot of overall talent around him, especially in that back half of the secondary. I lean the Raiders in this game, but like I said, there's so much new in a week one matchup that it's just not. There's other plays that I like more. So I would lean the Raiders heavier here, but I don't think it's going to be an official play for me. Steelers at the Jets. The Steelers are a 2.5-point favorite with the over-under at 37.5. This is another matchup where there's just so much change on both sides. New coaching staff for the New York Jets as the Lions defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn, comes over to now be the head coach. And then they also have a new quarterback in Justin Fields. And on the flip side, the former Jets quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, is now on the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they added DK Metcalf in a trade as well from the Seahawks. I'm expecting the defenses to have the advantage in this one, and obviously the market agrees with the total sitting at a really low 37.5. And again, I just don't see a big enough edge here. The under would probably be my only play, but at 37.5, I just don't think I have a number edge to where it would be a play for me, but it would be the under or nothing here in the Steelers Jets. Giants at the Commanders. The Commanders are a 6.5-point favorite with the over-under at 45.5. Now, the Commanders were the darling of the NFL last season, making a run all the way to the NFC Championship game, but they had a lot of things fall their way. Their ability to win one-score games and their fourth down percentage were astronomical. Those things tend to regress back to the mean. So I do think they're due for a little bit of a reality check this year. I'm still not high on their secondary and defense in general. The good news for them is they're playing the Giants here in week one. I think this Giants offense is going to be very underwhelming. They should just be starting Jackson Dart, letting him get his feet wet instead of wasting their time with Russell Wilson. But on the flip side, this Giants defense should actually be much improved. Their D-line should be very good, led by Dexter Lawrence, one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL, and newly drafted defensive end Abdul Carter, who's a monster off the edge. I'm just not expecting this offense to do much. And I think the under would actually be the best look in this game. But again, I'm not actually going to place that bet. That is just a lean. And I promise I do have bets coming up. It's just we hit a nice little run here of games that I'm going to pass on. It's also week one. It's a lot of guesswork. And I choose to bet teams that I feel like are more known, where at least I have at least historical data to go off of. Next up is the Panthers at the Jaguars. The Jaguars are a 3.5-point favorite with the over-under at 46.5. If there was a most improved award from start to finish for a season in the NFL, then Bryce Young would have gotten it last year. The young QB came on strong in the second half of the season last year, and will look to build on that this season. I just don't think this overall Panthers roster is very good, honestly. I have big concerns about their O-line, and I'm a big fan of Ted McMillan, the Panthers' first-round pick. But the rest of this wide receiver core leaves a lot to be desired. And I also believe in new Jaguars head coach Liam Cohen. He has a schemer and his ability to get Trevor Lawrence back on track as an elite NFL quarterback here. I mean, Liam Cohen spent a lot of his time as the OC at the University of Kentucky, and his scheme was so good that he had scouts believing that Will Levis was a surefire first-round pick. So I do trust him to be able to get Trevor Lawrence right here. On the defensive side of the ball, the Jags Jags secondary can be concerning, but I think they're going to be able to have a good pass rush and get after the quarterback here. And I just think this number is too low here. Give me the Jags minus 3.5 against the Panthers. Bengals at the Browns. The Bengals are a 5.5-point favorite with the over-under at 47.5. Now, look, Joe Burrow is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, but historically, this Browns defense under Jim Schwartz has been able to limit him and this Bengals offense, particularly at home in Cleveland. I also think that this Browns offense is going to be okay this year, at least in the early part when Joe Flacco provides a steady veteran presence. I'm assuming that they're going to turn to one of their rookie quarterbacks as the year goes on. But for the start of it, at least Joe Flacco, you know what you're getting out of him each week. I mean, and this Bengals defense is one of the worst in the NFL. Still, they were historically bad last year. And I don't think it's going to get much better this year, as we saw the Eagles' second stringers in the preseason just walk up and down the field consistently against the Bengals' full starting defense without Trey Hendrickson, of course, because he was holding out. But still, Hendrickson is a very elite player, but he does not make up for the other 10 guys that are going to be out there on the field with him. This number is a little too high for me. I think the Browns have a good enough weapons, and like I said, Flacco is going to be a steady force in that offense, and I think they're going to be able to keep it within this number. Give me the Browns plus 5.5 against the Bengals. Buccaneers at the Falcons. The Buccaneers are a 1.5-point favorite with the over-under at 47.5. Now, a lot of people are really high on this Falcons team. With this year, Michael Penix coming in, getting his first full season as a starter, did get his toes wet last year, but this is basically his rookie season, and Todd Bowles is one of the best defensive minds in the NFL, known for getting after rookie quarterbacks. And I think he's going to be able to come up with a scheme that can rattle Penix, or at least limit what he's able to do as a passer. Now, the Falcons do have a really high talented weapons in Drake London and Bijan Robinson, who can hit explosive plays at any time. And the Bucs are a team with a lot of chemistry and veteran presence with Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield, one of the best combos in the NFL. And I'm a huge fan of the Bucs rookie wide receiver, Emeka Egbuka. Now, Chris Godwin is a nice player who's obviously going to be missing, but I do think Ibuka not only is going to make that loss not as felt as it would be in years past, but I also think he is in Chris Godwin and can actually upgrade this offense as the Buccaneers number 2 this year. Now, the Bucs are going to be without star left tackle Tristan Wirfs in this matchup, which obviously is concerning, but Baker Mayfield is a veteran quarterback who can navigate that type of situation. And I do trust this offense a little bit more than I trust the Falcons here in week 1. Give me the Buccaneers minus 1.5 against the Falcons. Next up is the 49ers at the Seahawks. The 49ers are a 1.5-point favorite with the over-under at 43.5. Now, Gary Kubiak comes over as the offensive coordinator here, and I think he fits what Sam Darnold likes to do as a quarterback well. And they do have a solid run game behind him with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. And then a wide receiver core who is also going to be underrated this year because they lost DK Metcalf. But Jackson Smith-Njigba is a budding star. And I do like the young guys. They also have to step up in a bigger role this year. And then additionally, this 49ers defense is not going to be up to the level that we've been used to seeing from them in years past. Now, everyone is down on this 49ers offense because of the injuries. Obviously, Brandon Ayuk does hurt them. But George Kittle is a mismatch nightmare for almost any defense. And I do have faith in Ricky Pearsall and Jawan Jennings that they're going to be able to be reliable targets for Purdy this year. And then also there have been concerns with Christian McCaffrey and his calf again, just like he had last year. But McCaffrey actually spoke to the media last night and said that he is feeling great. And a lot of his injury concerns is just overblown due to his history. And I trust Shanahan as a good enough coach to be able to scheme guys open and work and be effective with the guys that he does have available. I think this total's too low for two offenses that not only should be pretty good, but also have explosiveness to get down the field. Give me the over 43.5 in the 49ers Seahawks. This one's going to be quick. Titans at the Broncos. The Broncos are an 8.5-point favorite with the over under 42.5. Hard pass. I honestly wanted to take the Broncos, but this number has sailed way over the key number of 6.5 and 7. 8.5 is kind of a dead number in the NFL. I just have no interest in playing it. I do think the Broncos are going to be a sleeper team this year. They have one of the best defenses in the NFL. And Bo Nix is set to make a jump here in year 2. And then they should have an upgraded running game with J.K. Dobbins and the rookie R.J. Harvey now in the backfield as well. But it's just too much unknown. Cam Ward Obviously, I'm a Miami fan, if you guys know me. So I'm very familiar with what Cam Ward can do at the college level, but we have to see what he can do at the NFL level. 8.5 points here with a guy that we've never seen play in the NFL before on the other side. Just not a game that I'm interested in getting involved in. It's a pass for me here. Lions at the Packers. The Packers are a 1.5 point favorite with the over under at 47.5. Now, the Lions, I think, are going to be one of the most intriguing teams in the NFL this year after losing both of their coordinators, with Aaron Glenn taking the Jets job and Ben Johnson taking the Bears job. I really feel people are underestimating how important those moves are. The Lions offense really took off with Ben Johnson as the offensive coordinator. He made life so easy on Jared Goff. With his scheme, Goff actually had led the NFL last year with a tight coverage throw rate of 16.1%. So the majority of his throws were to guys that were either decently open or running wide open. And I think it's going to be not as efficient out of him this year without Ben Johnson scheming up those routes for him. And then I also think those both coaches hit a lot of Dan Campbell's deficiencies. Everyone loves Campbell because he's a good rah-rah guy, gives you a good sound bites week in and week out, and he goes for it. He's exciting, goes for it his fourth down on his own side of the field. But I also think he's a giant galaxy. I actually think Dan Campbell might actually not be a good coach, and these coordinators actually hid a lot of his shortcomings because he makes way too many boneheaded galaxy brain decisions for me to really trust him, and he puts his team in a bad spot a lot. Now, for the Packers, they're relying on a rookie wide receiver in Golden to come in and be their wide receiver one this year. Now, I do like Golden, but I do think it's going to take a couple weeks for this offense to really get going. And I just not really looking for a huge output here in week one from them. Now, the addition of Micah Parsons in this D-line with the Packers, they should have a solid pass rush with Rashawn Gary. Opposite Michael Parsons on the other side as well. And they should be able to mask the loss of their cornerbacks, especially Jair Alexander. I think we're going to see a different style of football this year from both teams. And I like the under 47.5 with the Lions at the Packers. Now, the Texans at the Rams. The Rams are a 3.5 point favorite with the over-under at 43.5. This is another game that is a easy, hard pass for me. The Texans will be missing Joe Mixon, and it's a lot of question marks who are going to be playing behind him in that running back room. And then for the Rams, I'm really concerned. Like, Stafford hasn't even practiced really this entire preseason, not even just playing in the preseason games. He's barely practiced, and we don't know what version we're going to get. Is there going to be any rust from Matthew Stafford? Is he even going to be able to finish a game with his injuries that he has? Personally, it's just too much unknown for me to want to get involved in this one. There's other games that I like more, so it's a pass for me here in the Texans-Rams. Now we have the Ravens and the Bills. Sunday Night Football. The Ravens are a 1.5 point favorite with the over-under 50.5. Look, two veteran quarterbacks, and not only veteran quarterbacks, but electric quarterbacks, not only through the air with big arms, but also being able to make plays in the running game as well. Two running backs in Derrick Henry and James Cook that routinely find the end zone more than anyone in the NFL. And the Bills are dealing with some injuries in their secondary as well. The Ravens should have the most talented secondary in the NFL, in my opinion, with the addition of Jair Alexander, Marlon Humphrey, and Kyle Hamilton, in my opinion, is the best safety in the NFL. I'm really high on this Ravens defense. That being said, Josh Allen is a player that makes routinely off-schedule plays and can make something out of nothing on any given play. I think this number's too low. 50.5 is one of the highest totals, if not the highest total we have this week in the NFL. But I still think it's too low. I expect these teams to play into the mid to high 20s each, which would lead to an overplay from here. And then the last play of the week is, or last game of the week, I should say, is the Vikings at the Bears. The Vikings are a 1.5 point favorite with the over-under at 43.5. I honestly don't know if I'm going to make a play on this game yet. I like the Vikings defense overall. I like Aaron Jones. I like their weapons, obviously, but I'm not a big fan of J.J. McCarthy and this the quarterback for the Vikings. Wasn't a fan of him in college. They basically won a national championship just asking him to hand the ball off 30 times a game. So, yeah, I have to wait and see. There are a couple of props I like, but I want to see how that market takes shape come Monday before I jump in. So, for now, nothing on the Vikings and the Bears. And then, as always, like I said, if you missed a play or missed the show, you can follow me on X at SReddenSports, on Instagram at RedHotLocks. Like I said, I had two new plays for college football today, both posted earlier on my socials. Now, moving on to conclude, we will do the college football. We'll just do the Red Hot Locks in general, and then I'll hit college football at the end. So my Red Hot Locks for today. We have first up, we have the Jaguars -3. Well, I say today, it's tomorrow. The Jaguars -3.5 for 1 unit. The Browns +5.5 for a half unit. The Cardinals Saints over 43.5 for a half unit. The Buccaneers -1.5 versus the Falcons for a half unit. The 49ers Seahawks over 43.5 for a full unit. Packers Lions under 47.5 for a full unit. And then the Ravens Bills over 55.5 for a half unit as well. If you missed any of that, I'll just give a quick rundown. They are also scrolling across the bottom of the screen as well. Jags -3.5 for 1 unit. Browns +5.5 for a half unit. Cardinals Saints over 43.5 for a half unit. Buccaneers -1.5 for a half unit. 49ers Seahawks over 43.5 for a unit. Packers Lions under 47.5 for a unit. And the Packers Bills over 50.5 for a half unit. Now, turning the attention to college, I'm just going to hit that real quick. I don't have them on the scroll bar, but later today, I already gave out Duke money line here against Illinois going on live right now. And we also have Penn State going -41.5 against FIU. Now, a couple later plays, I'm going to be on Oregon -28.5 against Oklahoma State for 1.5 units. Dan Lanning spoke this week, and then him and Coach Gundy from Oklahoma State kind of got into it through the media there. So there's some bad blood, and Lanning is a coach that does not shy away from running up the score if he feels it's necessary. We saw that a couple years ago with Colorado after they had some jawing back and forth through the media as well. And then I also think Oklahoma State's roster is just not what we're used to seeing at Oklahoma State. They're just not competitive anymore. Oregon should blow the doors off here. I like them -28.5 for a unit and a half. 1.5 units. And then my last play today for just a half unit is going to be the Michigan and Oklahoma first half under 22.5. Bryce Underwood, the star freshman quarterback from Michigan, looked great last week. That was also New Mexico. That's not on the road in Norman against Oklahoma, against Brent Venables in a hostile environment. And freshman quarterbacks have struggled. We just saw CJ Carr last week look awesome for Notre Dame in the second half against Miami, but he really struggled early on the road. And that's going to be the first time Bryce Underwood is facing an environment like that today for Michigan last week. I actually expected him to be a playmaker in the running game for the Sooners, and it just wasn't there. I believe he only had 6 yards in actual QB design runs, which was really disappointing for a guy that I had high hopes for coming into this week. So my final college play is Oklahoma, Michigan under 22.5 in the first half. So that will be Oregon -28.5 for 1.5 units, and then a half unit play on Michigan, Oklahoma, first half under 22.5. Now we're going to close out the show with my NFL parlay of the day for tomorrow. Obviously, it's going to be a 1 unit play. As always, my parlays of the day are it's going to pay $6.15. And that will be a 3-leg parlay. Jags -3.5. 49ers Seahawks over 43.5, and the Packers Lions under 47.5. So just to recap, my red hot locks are Jaguars -3.5 for 1 unit, Browns +5.5 for a half unit, Cardinals Saints over 43.5 for a half unit, Buccaneers -1.5 for a half unit, 49ers Seahawks over 43.5 for a unit, Packers Lions under 47.5 for a unit, and the Ravens Bills over 50.5 for a half unit as well. And then my parlay today plus 615, 1 unit on the parlay today is the scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Jaguars -3.5, 49ers Seahawks over 43.5, and the Packers Lions under 47.5. And that'll do it for us today. Episode 1 of the 2025 season. As always, if you want updated picks, something I'm adding, or if a play that I say I need time to think about, you can follow me on X at SReddenSports, on Instagram at Red Hot Locks. Any play that you won't hear on the show, if I bet it, it's going to be posted on one of my socials. So follow me over there if you want. And then, as always, bet responsibly. Best of luck, and I'll talk to you next week.